Hi, I'm Dr. Tash. In today's episode, I'll be talking about the role of the pelvic floor physiotherapist. I'll be talking to Heba Shaheed, who's a women's health coach. She's also a physiotherapist and the founder of the Pelvic Expert. Today we welcome Heba Shaheed to Dr. Tash TV. Heba helps people all around the world, specifically women who have issues with their bladder, their bowel, sexual dysfunction, problems with their hormones and their periods. Heba has a deep understanding and connection with sufferers of pelvic pain due to her own personal experience with endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome and pudendal neuralgia. So this is the beautiful Heba. And Heba's going to be talking to us about lots of things. I've got a few questions for her. My first question was, what is the pelvic floor exactly?
Okay, so the pelvic floor is basically a sling of muscles that form a hammock at the base of your pelvis. And they are made up of many different muscles that extend from your pubic bone to your tailbone and out to your sit bones.
A hammock, I like that.
So we have the superficial muscles that make up the pelvic floor muscles, and they are number one, ischiocavenosus, which goes from your pubic bone out to your sit bones and on either side. Then we have the bulbocavenosus, also known as bulbospongiosis, which goes and wraps around your urethra and your vagina. Then we have the perineal muscles that extend across from either sit bone. And lastly, we have our anal sphincter muscles that surround your anus. And these are your superficial pelvic floor muscles.
That's interesting because the first muscles that I ever learned in med school were ischiocavenosus and bulbospongiosis.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
And then we have our deep layer of muscles. So the deep layer of your pelvic floor muscles, they're also known as levator ani, and they're made up of three main muscles. So one muscle that goes from your pubic bone over and across towards your tailbone on either side. Then you have another muscle called iliococcygeus, which goes from your ilium over to the coccyx. So from the side of your hip to the tailbone on either side again. And you have one more muscle that goes from the pubic bone along the inside of that first muscle, the pubococcygeus, and it goes around like a sling and loops around the rectum. That's why it's called puborectalis. And together all of these muscles make up your deep layer of your pelvic floor, also known as levator ani. And then there's also another few muscles that make up the pelvic wall. And these muscles are also important whenever we're assessing for pelvic floor. And they're hip muscles. So one of them is your obturator internus, which you can see over here, and also your piriformis muscles. And some women sometimes experience sciatica, which is related to these two muscles. And lastly, we have our coccygeus muscle, which is a muscle that attaches on either side of your tailbone. And all together, the superficial muscles, the deep muscles of your pelvic floor, and the pelvic wall all make up your pelvic floor.
That's revision 101 for me, going back to med school many years ago. Thank you so much, Heba. That's awesome. So if I was being sent to a pelvic floor physiotherapist, I'd want to know, Heba, how could you help me?
There's a dozen ways a pelvic floor physiotherapist can help you. 1. Relieve pelvic pain. 2. Reduce period pain. 3. Reduce nerve pain. 4. End sexual pain. 5. Abdominal and pelvic manual therapies, including massage. 6. Improve bladder health, such as urgency or bladder pain. 7. Improve bowel health, such as constipation, IBS, or leakage. 8. Fix constipation through retraining your pooping mechanics. 9. Teach you pelvic floor relaxation exercises. 10. Teach you pain neurophysiology education, how your brain and your nerves interact in your pain experience. 11. Enhance fertility. 12. Manage any pregnancy or post-birth issues such as incontinence, prolapse, or abdominal separation.
So Heba, tell me a bit about the training that you need to do to become a pelvic floor physiotherapist.
So all physiotherapists have to have a bachelor's in physiotherapy to begin with, but then we go on to do a little bit of specialty-based training, which can be postgraduate level It can be university-based, so some pelvic floor physios have master's degrees, some have doctorates as well, but a lot of pelvic floor physios, also known as women's health physios and pelvic health physios, will do 2-day certifications in specific areas in the pelvic floor health. So they might do 2 or 3 day trainings in bladder health, bowel health, pelvic pain, sexual health, and so on. And the other thing that pelvic floor physios have to do is be trained in vaginal and rectal examinations, because a lot of the work that we do is internal based, especially when it comes to pelvic pain. Pelvic pain physios do need to do a lot of work in terms of releasing muscles of the pelvic floor, so we do have to be trained in vaginals and rectals.
So when people come to see you as a patient, they should expect that you will do a vaginal or a rectal examination?
Yeah, so very often, depending on the person, if they want to do on the first session, but definitely throughout, at some point in their sessions, they will have a vaginal examination.
So my next question to Heba is, how do I find a good pelvic floor physiotherapist?
So finding a pelvic floor physio is relatively easy. You can just jump on Google and just look up pelvic floor physio or women's health physio in your local area. You can also go on the APA website, which is the Australian Physiotherapy website, and go to APA Find a Physio. And there's a group called the Women's, Men's and Pelvic Health Group, which has a list of all the physios that are trained in pelvic floor. And then there's also another website, which is where I've done all my training through, which is the Women's Health Training Associates. So it's www.whta.com.au. And if you head over to that website, you can find a number of physios all over Australia and New Zealand as well. But it can be difficult to find a physio who's particularly experienced in pelvic pain. So the best thing to do is actually give them a call and ask them, are you trained in pelvic floor pain, sexual pain, or whatever issue it is that you're suffering from?
So as a pelvic floor physiotherapist specialising in women's health, who else do you work closely with in helping your patients?
Well, we work with a number of specialists. So we work with the GP, definitely, with specialists which range from gynecologists, endogynecologists, reproductive specialists, urogynecologists, colorectal surgeons, fertility specialists, and then also allied health as well. So other physios, generally as well, dietitians, naturopaths, osteopaths, anyone who is involved in the care of the woman. We are more than happy to be part of that team. So we do advocate for a very strong multidisciplinary focus whenever we're treating women with pelvic dysfunction.
Great. Collaboration is what we're about, which is how I know Heba. Yeah, great.
And it's so important.
Thank you so much, Heba. I really appreciate it.
It's been awesome being here.
Yeah, no, she's the best. Now, if you wanted more information about how Heba can help you or your friend or family member, please visit her website and you'll be able to see this right now.
www.thepelvicexpert.com.
Yeah. Heba teaches workshops, she hosts webinars with leading experts and provides tailored online programs for women struggling with health issues, including pelvic pain, preconception, pregnancy and postpartum issues. Thank you for watching today's episode of Dr. Tash TV. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any future goodies. And until the next video, be well.